All right, so the last story here. Trump will not rule out force to take the Panama Canal and Greenland. So for weeks now, Trump's been talking about taking the Panama Canal, taking Greenland, and it's something I kind of at first just kind of dismissed and was like, he's just talking, whatever. But now he won't drop it. And this is the incoming president of the United States, so I really do need to cover this. And he really seems to be serious about it now, because he gave this press conference on Tuesday, the same one that Witkoff is at Mar-a-Lago, and he made a huge focus, because he kind of had these opening remarks, and it was a huge focus on the Panama Canal, Greenland, and Canada. He wants to make Canada a 51st state. And again, these are things you see, you kind of laugh off. But then it's like, wait, he actually is coming. He's going to be the president. So is he serious about these things? And it seems like he is. So at a press conference on Tuesday, Trump repeated his calls for the U.S. to take the Panama Canal and Greenland and said he wouldn't rule out the idea of military force. When asked if he would avoid using economic and military coercion, Trump said, quote, "I can't assure you. You're talking about Panama and Greenland. No, I can't assure you on either of those two," end quote. So saying, I can't assure that I won't use military force here. Trump claims that the Panama Canal is controlled by China, but it is under the control of the Panama Canal Authority, which is a government agency of Panama. Trump said, quote, "Look, the Panama Canal is vital to our country. It's being operated by China, and we gave the Panama Canal to Panama. We didn't give it to China," end quote. The president-elect has even alleged that Chinese soldiers are in the Panama Canal. So he wrote this on Christmas Day on Truth Social. He said, quote, "Christmas greetings to all, including the wonderful soldiers of China who are lovingly but illegally operating the Panama Canal," end quote. And so Panama's president, Jose Raul Mulino, called Trump's claims nonsense and said the canal was under the full control of Panama. He said, quote, "There are no Chinese soldiers in the canal. You are free. The whole world is free to visit the canal if you please. What Trump has said on this issue is nonsense. It does not exist," end quote. So at the press conference, Trump criticized the deal that Jimmy Carter signed that handed the Panama Canal to Panama in 1999. And he also said that the fees for U.S. ships to use the canal were too high. And he also, going over to Greenland, he cited China to explain why he wanted to take Greenland, which is an autonomous territory of Denmark. He said that Denmark should give up Greenland for the free world. And I don't really understand the idea here, because, well, let me read what he said. I guess he views it as some kind of strategic location to counter China and Russia. He said, quote, "They should give it up because we need it for national security. You have Chinese ships all over the place. You have Russian ships all over the place. We're not letting that happen," end quote. So the thing about Greenland is that it's a member of NATO. It was actually a founding member of NATO. And there's a U.S. military base there. So, I mean, you could theoretically just expand the military presence there if you wanted to. Not that I think the U.S. should do that, but the whole thing is just strange. And he's also calling for the U.S. to absorb Canada as a 51st state. He said he wouldn't use military force for that, but he said that he could use economic force. He said, quote, "Because Canada and the United States, that would really be something. You get rid of that artificially drawn line and you take a look at what that looks like, and it would also be much better for national security," end quote. He was saying how the U.S. pays a lot to help defend Canada. So anyway, he also says he's going to impose substantial tariffs on goods coming from Canada and Mexico due to trade deficits, illegal immigration, and drugs coming through the borders. He also outlined a plan to change the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. So he's got some expansionist designs on the Western Hemisphere. The question, will he really try to advance these things? I don't know. We'll see. Another thing I'm worried about is kind of the potential for military action against the cartels in Mexico. You see him talk about that. A lot of Republicans talk about that. The whole thing is just kind of crazy. The U.S. has invaded Panama before. What was that? Back in 1989 when they took out Noriega, who was, who was a CIA asset before.